Hi, I'm Joel Persinger from Practical Defense Systems. And once again, we're out here at the fabulous P2K range in San Diego, California. And since we're out here, we thought we'd talk about a different kind of gun this time. Last time we talked about revolvers as home defense guns. To continue our series on home defense handguns, this time we're going to be talking about semi-automatics. Now with semi-automatic handguns, you have a variety of types and shapes and sizes. Some of them are all steel or all metal, some of them are polymer. Now we have some examples of polymer guns here for you to look at, one of which is this one, which is the Springfield XD. And it comes in different calibers and sizes and so on, but this is an example of a polymer shaped gun that has a metal slide, and what the polymer does is lighten the gun up a little bit. We have some other ones here too that we're going to talk about, including some all steel guns. But before we do that, you know, just like the revolvers, the staff and I couldn't resist it. A little while ago, we were having a great time shooting them. So let's try the semi-autos. I mentioned that these can be extremely accurate, very reliable. What I've got here is the Springfield XD, but it really wouldn't have mattered which one I picked up. Let's hit the steel with it, and then we'll go and see what we can do with the soda bottles. Here we go. Steel. So that's steel. Now, with the revolver, let's see if I can get this red soda again. With the revolver at this point, I had to reload. I don't have to reload with this thing. Got more ammunition in it. Let's see if we can finish them up before we run out. Oh, I missed that one. Here we go. Now we have the 2-liter. Holy smoke! Yeah, they really go when you shake them up. Yeah. Here we go. Hey! Oh my goodness. Well, Nick the cameraman, he definitely shook that up. So we have a number of semi-automatic pistols here and quite a variety. I'm going to go over them for you one at a time. You're going to see there's a lot of similarity and not a lot of differences, but I'll point out the subtle differences because when you're going to buy a semi-automatic pistol, if you haven't already, you might want to be aware of them. They'll make buying it a little bit easier for you. So over here we have a Glock, and I'll get it a little closer so that you can see it. This is a Glock Model 22. And it's a 40 caliber pistol. Now you'll notice this one's got some wear on it, and that's because this was a law enforcement trade-in. Now I'm going to do a little video a little later on about how to purchase a used firearm, but I bought this as a law enforcement trade-in, so it has a lot of holster wear. You know, some police officers carried it a lot. But what was interesting is I took it to Gunsmith afterwards, and what I found was that all the internal parts of it had been replaced by the law enforcement armory before they sold it. So this gun is almost like, I mean, it's like brand new except for the finish. It even has tritium night sights, so at night they glow and you can see your sights. So sometimes buying a used gun is a very positive thing. In fact, I have a bunch of them. But anyway, this is a Glock. It's a Glock 40, and that's a Model 22. And obviously it holds a magazine I grabbed for you here. And the magazines on these are a polymer. I wanted to say plastic, and that's not correct, but they're a polymer. And so they're pretty durable. I mean, you can beat them up pretty good and they'll still work. Now, the thing about a semi-automatic pistol, which I may have mentioned earlier, is that they are dependent upon the magazine. So if the magazine starts to fail, you want to throw it out and get another one. Don't put it back with your other magazines. I always tell students, if you have a magazine that's causing the gun not to work, the way to fix it is to take it and put it on a rock and get a ball-peen hammer and smash the darn thing and throw it away right away, because otherwise you put it back with your good magazines and now you don't know which one's which. And a magazine that doesn't work right or causes the gun not to work right can get you killed. So you want to make sure that you throw it away. Now I've had students that say, yeah, but you know, it's 30 bucks or it's 40 bucks or whatever they are. And my answer is always to ask them this: how much is your life worth? And so make sure that your magazines are in good shape and that you have a few of them. You don't need to have 100, but you know, have 2 or 3 or 4 of them around. And that way, if you need to change it, you can. Now, so anyway, that's a Glock, and I believe this is a Generation 3. I'm sure there's a Glock person online that's going to correct me. Feel free to comment if I get something wrong. One of the things I learned is that old Joel's not perfect. Excuse me. Now you'll notice that these guns sometimes can be accused of being unsafe, and I mentioned that people are afraid because they have this one round in the chamber. Now that's a training issue. If you get some training and you take some classes and you learn how to run the gun and to treat it safely and operate it safely and store it safely, semi-automatic guns are as safe as revolvers or any other type of firearm. It's not the gun that needs to be safe, it's the individual that has it. But there are some internal safeties and intrinsic safeties on these pistols, one of which hopefully you can see right here on the trigger. If I push that little swing out item on the end of the trigger, that's one of the safeties associated with Glocks. If I try to push the edge of the trigger, if something grabs it, it won't go. I can grab it on the edge. It won't go until I've depressed that, and then it will move. And then there's some other internal safeties that need to be defeated as you press the trigger that are defeated automatically that will allow the gun to function. So that's a Glock. They are extremely popular for obvious reasons. They're darn near indestructible. You could probably throw it out here in the dirt and run it over with my my 3/4 ton pickup and pick it up and make it work. However, I hope you don't mind. I'm not going to do that because I like the gun. So next up, let's look at the Springfield. Oh, I'm sorry, I grabbed the Smith & Wesson and said Springfield. Let's look at the Smith & Wesson answer to the polymer pistol. This is the M&P, and this happens to be my wife's. This is an M&P 9mm. I've tried talking her out of it 2 or 3 times because it's a beautiful gun, but she won't let me have it. This is hers. And so there, that's what she says, so there. But you'll notice there's some differences here, subtle differences. For example, if I hold this up here and I show you the Glock, you can see the difference in the shape of the grip. You can also see perhaps, maybe it'll go better this way, a little bit subtle difference in the grip angle. You can see that on the Smith & Wesson, the grip angle is quite a bit different than it is on the Glock. The grip is forward, and the Glock grip is a little bit farther back. Now, that may have an effect on the way you shoot it, depending on what's comfortable for you. It may not, but be aware of it. You'll also notice if you look at the guns this way that you have a comparison between the grip on the Glock, which I have here, and the Smith & Wesson, which I have here. The Glock has a pretty straight grip on either side, whereas the Smith & Wesson has a little bulge in it, and that can change the feel of the gun when you pick it up to shoot it. There's also some other subtle differences here. Obviously the internals are a little different, but there's also the safety is a little different. Rather than having a separate piece in the middle of the trigger, the whole bottom part of the trigger, which is a 2-piece trigger, shifts position, and that's one of the internal safeties that's defeated as you press the trigger on the gun. Now this particular gun has a removable backstrap, and let's see if I can get it off for you. You take this off, and then you can take the backstrap off, and you can change these. It comes with 2 or 3, I think 3 of them. This happens to be the medium one. And so that helps you adjust the size of the grip for your hand. As I have mentioned earlier in this video, sometimes semi-automatics are a little difficult to adjust in this regard, shape and size of the grip. But the newer ones are coming out, and Glock has them too. The newer ones are coming out with an interchangeable backstrap or interchangeable pieces to adjust the size of grips for smaller and larger shooters. Now next to that, I've got a Springfield XD. This is the one I was holding up earlier, and you'll notice my hands are big, so I put on this rubber grip over the top of it because this is the XD, not the XDM, which is the newer model. But this particular gun, again, polymer gun, it's a little different than either the Glock or the Smith & Wesson, and the grip angle is closer to that of an old 1911 or new 1911 pattern pistol. I've shot those most of my life. That's why I particularly like this gun, although the Glock is also mine, and I shoot it as well. Now you'll notice on this trigger, guess what? You got that same little middle piece as you had in the Glock. That's part of the internal safeties on the gun. Now, if you're right-handed or left-handed, I should probably point these out. These polymer guns are really good for that. This particular one has a magazine release. That's what lets the magazine come out. So I put the magazine and try to pull it out. It won't come out until I push that button, and then it'll come out. It has a magazine release on both the right-hand side and the left-hand side, so it doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed, this gun is ready for you. Now the Glock and the M&P, those are good too because you can reverse it. It doesn't start off on both sides. It's on one side or the other, but it's very easy to reverse. So if you happen to be a lefty or a righty, you can move that around, and that makes the gun a little bit easier for you, and it's a little bit more user-friendly. With this gun, it's got a wider grip, as you can see here, than either of the other two, and then because my hands are big and I'm kind of a big guy, I put an even wider one on there with a bulge on it. So this shows you a little bit that you can adjust it. The other thing on this gun that you don't see on the other two is this thing, which is the grip safety. So you have to have a good firm grip on the gun or the gun won't go off. And some people like that, some people don't. There's a whole lot of discussion on the web about that. I tend to like them, but I think it's a personal preference issue. Some people think it's a safety issue. The world has got all kinds of opinions, and you're welcome to yours too. I like them, but I don't kibitz with anybody else who doesn't. So those are the full-size versions of the guns. And now let's look at something else. I've got a kind of a ringer here I threw in here for you, and that's this one here. And we did make sure it's clear before, but I want to do that again for your benefit. It is clear, there's nothing in it. This is the same pistol as this one, but you'll see they're a different size. This is the Springfield XD in 40 Smith & Wesson, and this is a Springfield XD in 40 Smith & Wesson. The difference is, as I let the slide move forward on these guns, you'll see that the size is dramatically different. This is the full-size pistol. And now they actually make one with a longer slide, but this is a full-size pistol. And this one is what's called the Sub-Compact. Now you can see that the grip is shorter and the barrel is shorter. And the reason for that is, obviously, this one would be a great home defense gun, or if you happen to be a security officer or police officer, outstanding gun to carry in an exposed holster where everybody can see it, doesn't matter, but a great duty-sized pistol. And in fact, that's what I use this one for. And then you've got this one, which is a compact pistol, which would be better to carry concealed if you happen to have a concealed carry permit. Now, I happen to have the example of the XD and XD compact pistols. You should know that while Springfield makes the various sizes of Springfield XDs, Smith & Wesson also makes the various different sizes of Smith & Wesson M&Ps, and certainly Glock, which is extremely popular for obvious reasons, makes various different sizes of Glocks. All of these three pistols, the Glock, the Smith & Wesson M&P, and the XD, are very popular with security officers and law enforcement because they are uber reliable and darn near indestructible. However, here's the point. If you're going to buy a gun to carry, and you're going to carry it all day, smaller, lighter tends to be what you carry. I call it an always gun. This gun is pretty much one of my always guns. You're going to, the other one that I showed you, the little one I showed you in the revolver, home defense revolver video. If you haven't looked at that, that's the previous video in front of this one. The little snubby I showed you is one of my always guns. I call them always guns because I always have them. Whereas this gun, I would call a left-it gun because it's so big and it would be uncomfortable to carry around. People say, where's your gun? I say, well, I left it at home, or I left it in the safe, or I left it in the car. So this is a left-it gun where this is an always gun. But if you're thinking about home defense, bigger and full size is oftentimes better. Because if you look at the difference, first, the gun is heavier, it's going to recoil less because it's got more weight to handle the recoil for me. And then if you look at the way my grip fits, I have a full-size gun, so I have a full-size grip. And now that I have a grip on this gun, guess what? I'm going to have more control. Now, this gun, for convenience sake and for ease of carry and comfortable, and I'm going to say being comfortable because I obviously can't say comfortable. I can't do that. All right, so for being comfortable, a smaller gun is a little better. But the problem is when I get the grip, I don't have a full-size grip on it or stock on it, and so guess what? I got something missing down here, and that means this gun is going to be tougher to control. It's shooting the same powerful caliber, which is Smith & Wesson 40, and there's a lot of gas on the end of that. It really goes. And so this one is going to have more muzzle flip, it's going to have more recoil, and it's going to be tougher to control. Well, if those are the sacrifices I need to make in order to have the gun be comfortable to carry, that's fine. But I don't need to make those sacrifices in order to have the gun sitting on my nightstand or in my quick access pistol safe at home. I'm not carrying it around. So I would suggest, and this is just based upon experience and the suggestion, that if you're going to buy a gun for home defense, you make it a full-size, duty-size firearm. Whether it's a revolver or a semi-automatic is up to you. It's obviously personal choice and what works best for you, but I would suggest a full-size firearm rather than the diminutive versions, which are a little tougher to shoot. Now, there's also the other issue of if I have a semi-automatic, and one of the positives of that is I have more ammunition in it on board. Well, when I buy the little one, guess what I get? Not only do I get a little gun, I get a little mag. And so now I've got less ammunition to start off with. Well, again, if I'm carrying it concealed, that's a compromise I have to make. But if I have it at home, why am I making that compromise? It isn't necessary. Give me a full-size gun that's easier to control. And, I want a full-size gun that's also got enough ammunition in it. I got more ammo here than I do here. I have 9 in this one. Guess what? I got 12 in that one. That's quite a difference. Wouldn't you agree? So that's something to think about when you're buying home defense guns. All right, lastly, let me deal with the question I get a lot, because we do have a lot of students and they run the gambit as far as age are concerned and as far as financial capability. Some folks are older and they don't want to carry a big heavy gun. They don't shoot a lot. They want to have something that doesn't recoil very much. Some folks we meet simply are not making a whole lot of money. This is, they're having tough times and they can't afford to go buy a new gun, but maybe their grandparents or their parents or somebody left them a firearm. And perhaps it's not ideal for self-defense, but it might get the job done. And here's an example. This is an example of one of those. This gun was actually left to me by my grandfather. This is a Ruger, I believe they call it a Mark I. We have Mark IIs and Mark IIIs we use for students to learn how to shoot. It's a 22 caliber pistol, and this particular one holds 9 rounds of 22 long rifle. And you can buy high-end 22 long rifle hollow points. CCI makes them, and there's several different brands that you can buy. You just want to buy something that fits in the gun. And the magazine goes up in here, and you let it go forward, and now you got 9 rounds of 22. Is this ideal for home defense? Well, no, it's not. It's not ideal for home defense. Would it get the job done, though? Yeah, probably. Probably it would get the job done admirably. Because of the way it's designed, it's not going to be as quick to reload, but it would be, quick enough. And you do have 9 shots. That's not too bad. And I will tell you, this thing is absolutely ridiculously uber accurate. I've hunted with it for years, and I can darn near hit the, shoot the eyes out of a gnat at this thing within any distance. That's why there's so many one-eyed gnats flying around the range. So this is a great little pistol, and if this is what you have and you can't afford anything else, then fine, buy some great ammunition for it, see if you can get yourself some extra magazines, and get down to the range and practice, because with something this small, like a 22, not only is the number of rounds available going to be very important, and the type of ammunition very important, but shot placement is going to be key. Where do you actually shoot the person who's trying to hurt you if you're using it for defense? That's going to make this gun successful for you or cause it to fail. So being able to shoot accurately, knowing the gun very well, is the way to do it. If this is what you got, that's fine. Know the gun and you'll be able to make it work. If you can at some point afford to buy a Centerfire handgun, one of these type or whatever, these have more power and they're obviously going to be a little bit better for you for home defense. So there's a quick view of semi-automatic pistols. Now, I don't want to have you think this is it. I mean, there's a whole lot of different types of semi-automatic handguns available, large, small, different brands. I've just shown you a few here for the sake of this video. I want to encourage you when you go buy a gun, though, that you buy a quality brand name gun. Do some online research as far as their quality and the reputable nature of their manufacturer, and then go to a range that has a lot of them in a rental counter, and then you can rent them and you can pick them up and say, oh, that feels good, or, yeah, that feels good. Well, yeah, that feels good. And you may find one doesn't feel good. Well, don't rent that one. And rent them and then take them on the range and shoot them. Think about buying guns the way you would buy shoes. You're going to pick a gun that you think is attractive, that looks good to you. You'll pick it up and look at it, take it out of the box and go, yeah, I like that. That's going to look good on me, and that's fine. So now I'm going to put the shoe on and I'm going to try it and I'm going to walk up and down the aisle with it. And at that point, guess what? I'm going to find out this thing squeaks or it pinches or maybe it's comfortable. Guns are the same way. You see it, you like the way it looks, you pick it up, you go, yeah, I like the way that feels. I'd like to rent that one. You take it out on the range and you shoot it, and maybe the first round you go, well, I don't like that at all. Fine, stop, take it back. You don't have to explain why. Get the next one. Okay, now I've you know, I've got this one feels good to me too. I shoot it, wow, I really like this one really shoots well for me. I like the shape of the grip, it's comfortable. You know what? Buy that one, because now you like to shoot it. That's the one you'll take to the range and practice with. And every one is different. Now this one happens to be my wife's, this one happens to be mine, and so on. Everybody's different, everybody's hands are different. Use the one that you feel fits you. Whoop, a little high, there we go. That was pretty quick. That's a good one. Let's try the one in the middle. Let's try the one in the middle. There, we got him. Whoa. I hope you liked this segment on home defense handguns, talking about semi-automatics. Please like us, subscribe wherever it is, and maybe share us on Facebook and Twitter.